dared to modify dandelions, turning away into gigantic monsters, outsmarted everyone. When everybody armed up, preparing their soldiers for nuclear showers, they chose the harmless, locking weed in your grandma garden for a weapon. With the government's sneaky alliance, they made it through the soil, growing and moving freely, spreading seeds to wipe out civilization. Now they were coming at them, and they were getting closer and closer in each breath, covering her mouth with both hands. She tried not to release a sound, though she wanted to scream right there. Despite the distance, she could feel their eyes touch her skin. After they passed, the man carefully rose and kept her close to his side. Let's go. Without qualms, she nodded through the ankle, begged for painkillers. Immediately, her frustration quickly turned into anger, the kind of anger that would make you punch a coconut tree several times until your knuckles bleed. She was beyond desperate. Only when she looked in the opposite direction did her lips curve into a soft smile. The widest smile she had that day. A hurt welcomed her eyes, her tummy growled. As it turned out, it was brief. Now noticing the man's loud pause, her eyebrows furrowed, wanting to ask why they had to stop. Then her eyes welcomed the gigantic dandelions in front of them. She cursed, her eyebrows arched in awe for a minute before reality sank into her head. Fear struck her chest, but before she could react, her heart skipped a beat as the loud gunshot rammed her ears. She hunched down, falling to her knees in sheer horror. The man might have said something in between, but the tenants blocked both ear passages. Her vision warped, moving in circles, her mind confused. Not knowing what to do, all she knew was his strong hand grabbed her arm and threw her out of the scene. Under the blanket of flying bullets, she crawled. She tried to articulate the words, but was distracted by the monster's roots slithering around like cobras on the hunt. What? The only sentence she could find in her brain, continuously rising to her feet. I said run to the hut. He pointed the rifle in that direction before slipping another magazine into the gun. Tears crawled down and dammed her red cheeks. How about you? Just run. I got this. His eyes on the dandelions. Come on, baby, give me a good damn fight. He began to rain the monsters with the remainder of his bullets. Defenseless she ran, pausing in between, screaming for his attention, imploring him to come to her now. But he couldn't hear her, she assumed, noting his laser-focused attention on the fight. As the rifle jammed, the shock smeared across her face, watching him throw the guns he had and run to the woods. His life was at the mercy of his fate, but it didn't take long before he got caught. Within seconds, the dandelion devoured him alive like a bear's jerk in its mouth. From a distance, his scream struck her ears, her shoulders lowered in defeat, realizing she was alone. Alone to fight, alone to die. She blinked, her body screamed the last energy. Running until she arrived at the hut, frantically knocking on the door. Is someone there? Help me, please. When she couldn't hear anything, she checked for open windows to break inside. She peeped through the dusty vents and immediately Hobbs barked, noting the filled cupboard. Whoever owned his place must have vanished like her family after a big grocery, leaving everything behind, packed kitchen leftovers on the dining table. Excitement filled her nerves, rushing to find a possible entrance if she could just. An ice-cold chill ran through her spine to the base of her head, her eyes on the door's reflection. Her heart thundered as she traced the dandelion silhouette behind her. She thought this was it, whisking her tears out of her eyes. And it sucked because she was almost there. Indulgence was in sight. If that wasn't enough to shatter her hopes, she heard the crispy sound of its leaves and the whirl of its miniature parachutes floating above its head. The wind brushed her face with warm late afternoon air, reminding her of what she was about to lose. Even with the sunshade, it wasn't enough to simmer the cocktail mix of anger and fear swelling her system. It wasn't enough to cool her blood, to convince herself she would survive intact. Cautiously she turned around and offered her eyes on the monsters. Besides, it was her last day and she had nothing to lose if she were to die. At least she could see this creature in detail, like a memento, something she could keep in mind in the afterlife. Out of the blue, its purpose moved closer and studied her in detail. leaving her briefly shutting her eyes, sucking in a breath. It was surprisingly cold, fluffy, and soft as the leaves wrapped her. Lifting her, she caught its friendly blue-green eyes for the first time, like two aquamarines glued on a puffball. What a lovely monster, she told herself, oddly feeling the warmth of its gaze. Kill me, she whispered, wishing it was audible enough. When it didn't work, she drew in air to supply her soft, raspy scream. I said, kill me. She pumped her arms and legs, striking punches everywhere her hand and feet struck until exhaustion hit her. Drained, she didn't have enough strength to flinch. Even when baffled at the sight of its malleable arms brushing her cheeks, with each touch, a childhood memory flashed behind her eyes. The ones she thought she had forgotten and buried in the depths of her consciousness. During those moments, she played with dandelions herself. Each scene played like film strips underneath her skull, glowing with magical golden dust. Confused, her eyebrows furrowed, her lips curved, wanting to ask why she was getting these images, these feelings she thought. She moved on, along with those she tried to avoid and repress for a long time. Before she could speak, the creature pulled her closer to its face and studied her, flashing its meaningful gaze. Its mouth eased open, releasing frequencies she could barely hear but felt like tremors in her skin. To her surprise, a young male's tender voice came out of nowhere and his loving whisper sneaked inside her ears. Why are not you afraid? Eyeing its sleeve, wiping her tears, she flicked her head to hide her face and the surprise that came along. She expelled vomit from her mouth. Why should I? I'm going to die anyway, she shuddered. No, I'm not going to do that, 'cause you're not scared of me. Its lips curved into a smile. Wow, it had lips hiding beneath the surface. She mused, keeping her expression clean, pretending she wasn't dumbfounded. She cocked an eyebrow. How could you say so? Why spare my life? Why don't you just kill me like how you killed my family and that man? The dandelion moaned. No, I can't, 'cause we don't take fearless souls, we keep them alive. She scoffed and rolled her eyes. A smug was eloquent. Fearless? You fucking kidding me? I'm not brave. I know you are, 'cause I see your soul. You are the bravest lady. Her eyes popped. The smugness faded. Her cheeks froze. How do you know my name? If that wasn't enough to confuse her, its arm slid through the door frame and unlocked it. It's better if you stay here for a while. It's safer, says the killer. I'm sorry. Who are you? Why are you talking to me? As the pause continued, way too long to keep her patience on track, she scoffed in annoyance and felt trapped. Enduring the look in the dandelion gaze, as if she were indeed the apple of the eye, she went on spilling her thoughts at a speedy pace. Why are you here? Who sent you? Is this World War III? She paused, expecting an answer, but nothing came out of its mouth. Answer me! In a blink, the door cracked open. Caught off guard, she flinched, observing the dandelion gesture, carefully resting her until her feet met the ground, her eyes rounded as they struck the living room. The clean space. Before she could say thank you, she felt a strong push behind her, forcing her to march inside. Don't leave till I get back. Wait, where are you going? She turned around and ran to the door, only to see the door slammed shut, locked.